Hey everyone, and welcome back to Newegg TV. My name is Paul, and once again we have a special guest here in the Newegg TV studios. This is Ryan from Creative.
Hey everybody.
How's it going, Ryan?
Great, man. Great to be back. Glad to be here.
Good to have you here. And Ryan is here to introduce us a whole new line of products from Creative. Isn't that right, Ryan?
Just this one.
Just this one. Okay.
Just this one.
So that is sort of gives you guys a better idea of the importance of this particular product, and we're taking a closer look at the Sound Blaster ZxR. This is the flagship of the Z series from Sound Blaster. By Creative, of course, and we're going to give you guys an in-depth look at this specific card today with, of course, Ryan's expertise to sort of guide us along the way.
Yep.
And Ryan has in the past referred to this card as a mystical unicorn, which is quite poetic. I've always liked that interpretation, but we also have a unicorn here to help us out.
There you go. It's prancing, rearing,
yes,
majestical.
Prancing unicorn.
It's beautiful.
It's a bit on the nose, but we'll roll with it.
There you go.
All right, so Ryan, if I may suggest, since we have a brand new boxed up version of the ZxR over there,
yep,
why don't I go ahead and sort of go through with an unboxing of that so we can show folks what they get in the box.
Sounds
and
great.
You can kind of talk about some of the features.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
So guys, if you are interested, we do have an additional video with Ryan where we went over some of the other cards in the Z series. So there's some information in there that does apply to the ZxR as well. But if you guys are interested, you can always check that one out for some more detailed info, or if you're interested in the other cards in that line. But there's the contents of the box. And let's just go ahead here. We'll start with some accessories. We have a ribbon cable.
Yep, that's the connector cable that goes from the ZxR main board to the Daughterboard, the DB Pro board.
Okay, so actually two separate PCI Express cards here to plug in. We also have
just one PCI. The other one is just a bracket. So there's no
just a bracket,
PCI connection. Yeah, it's completely powered by the PCIe main board.
Okay. The
Daughterboard will just take a slot in the back, but it doesn't require a PCIe connection, and it's also powered solely by the bus, so we don't need any external audio, power connection as well.
Okay, so it gives you guys a bit more flexibility when you're installing this in your system, so you don't necessarily need a PCI Express slot where you install the card. Yep. Here we have a little adapter cable, so 1/8 inch over to a couple gold-plated RCA plugs. Yep. For some higher definition audio. We also have an adapter here. That's an 1/8 inch female to, again, 2 gold-plated RCA plugs. What do you want to start off with? Let's take a look at the cards.
Let's start off with the boards.
All right, so in here we have some foam packaging. We have another little
secret compartment.
A secret compartment. All right. And here, this is just a plastic to keep the cards in line while they're
in the box.
In the box. All right. Now we're going to be taking a closer look at each of these cards, but this is your primary card there, so PCI Express X1 connector.
Yep.
Required for that. We also have the Daughterboard. We're going to talk about this more in detail, but you might notice Soundcore 3D, a chip separately on each card.
Each card.
So you actually get double the Soundcore 3D chips when you go with the ZxR. These are quad core?
These are quad core audio chips.
Quad
so you
core
get 8 cores of audio processing prowess with the system.
And if you guys are curious what the, at least one of the benefits of having actual discrete separate processors for the audio, well, it's going to, among other things, it's going to offload that audio processing from your CPU. So it's a great way to get a little boost in frame rates, for example, or at least reserve some of your CPU processing power while you're playing games. And of course, all the other benefits, which we're going to talk about just now. And then finally, we have a little breakout box here. What do you have an acronym for this?
The ACM, Audio Control Module.
Audio Control Module. So this gives you a nice big fat dial to control your volume with, as well as inputs. So we have 1/4 inch as well as 1/8 inch inputs.
And built into it, we also have microphones. So the dual beamforming microphone is actually, if you angle it right, like we did in the last video, you can see there's the microphone. So that takes advantage of the audio processing capability as well.
And I love the little breakout units because you can set them right there next to you and get easy access to your controls. And then, of course, gold-plated 1/4 inch connectors there to plug into the audio card itself. Yep. All right, so there's an unboxing for you guys. This is sort of what you get in the box. And now I'm going to turn it over to Ryan for some more in-depthedness. I just made up that word. Because we have, of course, these units right here, and these actually have the protective panels removed, so we can take a closer look. So Where should we start? The big
let's
one?
Let's go ahead and start with the main board there.
Main board right here. Let me pull this
Yeah, so on the main board, you can see, if you pan in here and zoom in, you can see we're using the Nichicon fine gold capacitors across the board. And this actually is a higher grade than the standard Nichicon gold capacitors. So fine gold is actually a notch above. So it's really, you're really entered into audiophile territory when you've done that. And we're using them, several of them on here. So you're going to get a nice, even, consistent powered sound. There's not going to be any hiccups or any variances in there. We've really taken a lot of time to engineer this card for consistency. Okay. So those are all throughout the board. You can also see the op amps are all in here. So we have the replaceable op amps. There's 4 of them on the card itself right there. And those you can socket out, recolorize. We're using TI Burr Browns by default. But if you prefer a different audio colorization or a different type of feel for it, you can actually replace these, and you can even replace them so you have a different sound for your stereo speaker out versus your headphone out. So if you do have a preference like that, we include all the information to do that in the instructions.
So some add-ons available if you want to swap out those. And when you talk about sound color, you're talking about like the tone that's provided when you're listening? Yeah, so
the Burr Browns, the TI Burr Browns have a really kind of warm, not overly warm, but they're considered by audiophiles to be kind of an industry standard if you're entering in that territory. Some people, however, prefer much more kind of, I don't want to say harsh, but much more realistic level of colorization. So they prefer a little less warmth, a little more, little less analog feel, or a little more analog feel. So that's what the variances of changing out these op amps are. If you go online, we're actually developing a guide right now for people, compiling all the different op amps that we've tested with internally and giving kind of our feedback as to, hey, if you prefer this, we'd recommend this. But TI, the Burr Browns are absolutely, cream of the crop stuff.
So you're good to go out of the box, but you have that option to swap them out if you need to.
Yep, and then on the board here, there's little tiny, these squares here are all the DACs. So the DACs are on there as well, and we're using external DACs, hooking up the Soundcore 3D chipset. You can also see we have the copper banding on the inside, and we talked about that a little bit back in the original video, but the copper banding is an analog noise reducer. So what it does is it isolates the componentry in such a way that none of, it's basically a wall to keep analog noise away from the delivery source. So what we're doing is we're trying to keep the digital blipping and blit noise or whatever it is that might be creeping into that analog signal away from the analog signal. So we have several mechanisms for that built onto this card.
So I think I've experienced this particularly when I've worked with like front panel audio with certain things, and you have your headphones plugged in. Every once in a while, like, have you ever been able to hear your mouse moving? That's happened to me. Just a little buzz that happens right as you move the mouse, and it's distracting. So that's really what it's going to do. It's going to isolate that, keep those types of interferences from contaminating your audio signal.
Without a doubt. I mean, you're not going to hear that with this card. I mean, you're really only going to hear that with a motherboard or motherboard audio or a lower end audio card. But yeah, you don't get to the level of SNR, 124 dB SNR, you're definitely not going to hear any blitting noise going on. We also have a separate layer inside of the card. So there's actually several layers in the PCB here. And we actually have a separate layer of copper into the PCB that acts as a grounding layer as well. So we have a grounding layer in this plane, but we also have a grounding layer in that plane. So we're pulling out a lot of, potential analog audio signals. But due to the componentry we're using, we're eliminating all of it there as well. And then we also have the Soundcore 3D chipset right there on the side. And the Soundcore 3D chipset is a quad-core audio processor. And that enables us to handle different types of activities. And with this card in particular, we do a lot of customized programming of the chip. We can reprogram what it's doing on the fly. So by default, we're going to have 3 cores handling audio processing and 1 core dedicated solely to voice processing. And so that enables you to do the voice algorithms and all the active noise cancellation over your microphone. If you're a video blogger or trying to record yourself music-wise through the DB Pro, we can actually eliminate a lot of potential background noise there as well, so you're getting a really clean signal. And then on the other side here, we'll go to that in a second. Here is the header for the DB Pro board. So the DB Pro board, we got a little bit of glue on the back. The DB Pro board plugs into here, and it is this carries power as well as signal. So it actually takes the power from the PCI bus, pushes it over. One thing that we really paid attention to when we were designing this card was we did not want to take a potential power source away from the power supply unit. Okay. It's something that it really is a testament to the efficiency of our Soundcore 3D chipset, is that we're able to power it, but we're able to power two chipsets basically off of just a PCIe power connection. So
very nice. Very
proud of that. And then on the back here, we have our connections for the main board. So the main board connections here, we have 1/4-inch plugs, big request that we've had for our cards for a long period of time. So you can plug in those high-end headphones natively right into the back of the card. And then we have our RCA connections, and you can see the surround connections as well there. And all of these connections all have their own op amps and DAC. So everything has a high-end DAC. We haven't scrimped anywhere on the output chain. So op amps are powering these. You're going to get great sound no matter whether you're in surround or direct stereo mode.
Okay. And would that be a good time to move over to the Daughterboard?
DB Pro board.
All right, so Daughterboard here, bear in mind this one doesn't have the PCI bracket installed on the back. Yeah. And also, if you guys noticed a little bit of glue on this one, that's simply because these are display units, and they were actually attached in there. But here's the Daughterboard. Now, so again, we have another Soundcore 3D quad-core chip there. So from my understanding, the motherboard here, so to speak, is primarily handling voice, as you mentioned, as well as audio out. Yep. And then this one is actually going to be more dedicated to recording. Yes. Okay.
So the DB Pro board, that's actually a great way of putting it. The DB Pro board is dedicated primarily to digital input and output. So we're handling all of the digital surround. The Soundcore 3D chipset is doing all of the digital output conversion or input conversion, and then also dedicated towards recording over the RCA ports here. And that's how we're able to get 120 dB SNR recording, which is very, very hard to achieve inside of a PC-born system. So what we went with was, we said we know people are going to be playing games and producing audio, but one of the new kind of demographics that's popped up in the era of YouTube is the home producer, the home YouTube producer, or the home YouTube artist. And so we wanted to give them a solution that if they have a desktop sitting there, they can plug this in and get great voice and recording from, or not just voice, but from any recording source, recording at 120 dB SNR. It's a very clean signal.
Okay, and just to clarify, our these would be inputs then to RCA inputs for left and right. Yep. We also have a couple optical Toslink connectors here. Yep. Would this be an in as well as an out?
In and out.
Okay.
Yep, both.
So optical Toslink, we have some more of those. These are Nichicon caps as well?
These are all Nichicon fine gold caps. And then we have, of course, we've already mentioned the Soundcore 3D chipset.
And then finally, a little pin out there for the ribbon cable to connect this to the main ZxR card.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so on the past video, I noticed in the comments that people were asking for specifics. What DACs are we using and what op amps are we using? So I'll go ahead and point out some of the, and give you the model numbers of those DACs. These are the DACs right here, the small chips, and we have several different DACs we're using. So for the headphone, the 1/4-inch headphones, we're using a TPA 6120A2 DAC. And then for the RCA phono outputs, we're using NJM 2114D. And for the stereo out on the back, we're using the NJM 2114 and then the LME 49720. That's the op amp for it. So this is really technical information, but when we're talking about a high-end grade equipment, I think people are going to appreciate having the model numbers. And then our op amps that we're using TI Burr Browns, and we're using the PCM 1794 for the phono outputs and the 1/4-inch jack, and then we're using two Burr Brown PCM 1798 for the rear and center surround channels. One other thing to point out is that we're actually using a higher class headphone amp in this, even from our awesome Z and ZX cards. We're actually using a TI TPA 6120 headphone amp. So the headphone amp on this is definitely a very, very high class headphone amp.
And lastly here, we're going to take a closer look at the ACM or audio control module, because this is one of the main components, of course, that you get with the ZxR. I'm having trouble with this twist tie, but it's okay.
Industrial strength.
I've never met a twist tie I could not untwist. All right, so first off, of course, we have a nice braided cable.
Yep.
Do you happen to know the length on this? I'm guessing it's oh gosh, 5 feet?
It's longer. It's, I believe 6 feet.
Probably closer to 6.
Yep.
It's just still twisted around. So about 6 feet of length on here, so you should be able to plug it in down wherever your computer might be and extend it out. Are these adapters on here?
They are adapters.
They are adapters. They're
unscrew.
Aha, they are solid adapters. They don't just pop on, they actually screw on. So,
high end.
So here you can plug in, of course, 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch, and they come with, again, the gold-plated adapters. Gold plating actually being useful for an analog connection.
Yep.
And then Ryan, could you take us over some more details on the unit?
So we talked a bit about the philosophy in the first video we did, but the ACM is really something that, you know, what are we bringing different to the table? And in the past we've used bays and we've used other things, and one of the things that we've noticed is people are taking a lot more care in designing their workflow. You know, we know people are having 30-inch monitors on their screen, so or on their desk. So desk space is really meant to be optimized. You know, you have all your peripherals and everything, and so the ACM was born out of that. We wanted to have a pure analog component that would still take advantage of the awesome headphone amplifier inside of the ZxR and ZX series cards, but be able to deploy it anywhere on the desktop. Okay. And also show off our microphone technologies and just how versatile it is, because you don't have to orient this so it's right in front of you. You can orient it in anywhere on your desktop and then calibrate in the software the audio so it sounds great anywhere on your desk.
And is that one of the benefits of having the beamforming microphone?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. The beamforming microphone gives us 2 mics to work with, and because of that we're able to focalize the microphone. We're able to change the bandwidth, and actually in the drivers you can see you can change the cone of audio from a flat 180 degrees all the way down to 20 degrees. Okay. So if you want a beam, you can have a beam. If you want more of a cone, you can have more of a cone. It's got a nice feel to it, a really cool analog feel to it, really silky smooth. And of course we give the option for the native 1/4 inch adapters, but also the 3.5 millimeter adapters on the other side. So if you're using a more kind of standard PC headphone or headset, you can go with that as well natively.
And oftentimes if you're going really high end on your headphones, those don't often come as headsets, so you could go with something like that, and then you'd still have your mic built in.
You'd still have it built in there.
All right. So that's a closer look at the ACM module, and I think that's about going to wrap it up for this video.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so guys, once again, this has been the Sound Blaster ZxR sound card, as well as the ACM and the Daughterboard included. I've been talking with Ryan from Creative. Thanks again for stopping by today, Ryan.
No problem. Thanks for having me again.
Thanks to all you guys for watching. If you'd like to see more videos, you can find them on our Newegg TV YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe for more tech videos. See you next time on Newegg TV.